Too much of the post-quantum cryptography market sells fear. Today, what the agencies actually recommend practitioners do first, and why it is almost the opposite of what most vendor decks lead with. This is an opinion piece, anchored to public guidance from CISA, the NSA NIST, and the UK's NCSC, names you can verify before any account executive joins the call. On one side, a vague Q-day countdown clock, ticking down to nothing in particular. On the other side, a cryptographic inventory manifest, slowly resolving line by line. Vendors figured out that Q-day is coming books, more meetings, then show me your crypto inventory. So that is what they ship. The agencies that publish the clearest baseline timelines have been saying something more disciplined. Start with discovery. The thesis is short. PQC marketing runs on fear, because fear closes procurement cycles. Practitioners pay the bill. They skip cryptographic inventory. They skip crypto agility plumbing. And they buy bundled platforms before they know what they are actually migrating from. The correction is not to ignore the threat. The correction is to anchor planning to government guidance and pull dates forward only where your own data lifetime, exposure, or regulatory context justifies it. Section 1. The fear patterns. 3 of them keep recurring across PQC marketing. Each has an authoritative counter that practitioners can anchor to. Once you can name the pattern, you stop buying into it. Pattern 1. Imminent Q-day marketing. The shape is vague countdown framing. The window is closing. Buy now. Usually it cites a recent resource estimate paper with the caveats stripped. Sometimes it cites 2 papers stapled together as if they made the same claim about the same target. The actual numbers tell a slower story, and they tell it about 2 different cryptanalytic targets. The numbers, a widely cited 2021 paper by Gidney and Ekro, estimated factoring RSA 2048 at roughly 20 million noisy physical qubits over 8 hours. By contrast, Google's quantum AI team published March 2026 cryptocurrency work that estimated attacking 2 56-bit elliptic curve discrete log on SecP at fewer than 500,000 physical qubits under specific superconducting assumptions. Different targets, different assumptions. Both describe future fault-tolerant machines, not anything that exists today. Resource estimates, not imminent attacks. The authoritative counter comes from NIST itself. NIST's draft document IR 8547 says, quote, "There are no existing cryptographically relevant quantum computers that currently threaten security, and the migration is expected to take at least a decade." That is NIST, not a skeptic. Quite possible within 10 years is a reason to plan. It is not a reason to buy this quarter. Pattern 2. Harvest-now-decrypt-later urgency, without inventory. Harvest-now-decrypt-later is a real threat category. CISA, the NSA, and NIST all name it as motivation for migration schedules. The problem is that it gets deployed in sales decks as a closer before the practitioner has any idea what long-lived sensitive data they actually hold. Harvest-now-decrypt-later becomes actionable only when you can answer 3 questions. 1. What long-lived encrypted data do you generate, whose confidentiality lifetime is long enough that future decryption would still matter? 2. Where does it sit? 3. What algorithms protect it? Without those 3 answers, the threat is literally unfalsifiable. Skipping discovery turns it from a threat model into a marketing enhancer. IR 8547 also draws a sharper line than most decks. Encrypted long-lived data is exposed to harvest-now-decrypt-later risk now. Authentication stays secure until a cryptographically relevant quantum computer, a CRQC, actually exists. Code signing and long-lived, non-updatable devices are the edge cases that force earlier action regardless. That distinction is in the draft document. It is rarely in the sales deck. Pattern 3. Bundled product pressure dressed as readiness. A PQC readiness assessment delivered by a vendor whose very next slide is their own migration platform. The assessment is real work. So is the conflict of interest. A useful readiness assessment should leave you owning an inventory, a risk ranking, and a migration sequence that remain useful even if you switch supplier next month. If it cannot, it is selling the wrong thing first. This is not an argument against using vendors. Several major PQC and certificate vendors already foreground cryptographic discovery in their material. NIST's own National Cybersecurity Center of Excellence project runs a cryptographic discovery workstream with industry participants. The UK NCSC has launched an assured consultancy pilot, whose first offering is discovery and migration planning. Outside help is fine. The problem is buying the platform before you own the discovery problem. So the counter to pattern 3 is a rule. Do not buy the migration platform before you own the discovery problem. Assessments are a service. Platforms are a purchase. Keep the order right. An assessment that leaves you more dependent on the vendor than when you started was not a readiness assessment. It was a sales meeting. Section 2. What practitioners need instead. The counter to each fear pattern has the same shape, a specific standards-backed action that prevents the organization from buying the wrong thing first. 3 remedies. Each one is free or nearly free to start. Remedy 1. Cryptographic inventory using CycloneDX 1.6. CycloneDX 1.6, released April 9, 2024, introduced cryptography bill of materials support as an open standard. It was later standardized as ECMA 424. Use it as the artifact, not the platform. Many teams can extend their existing CycloneDX and software bill of materials pipelines rather than procure new tooling, though runtime discovery, protocol mapping, firmware visibility, and supplier engagement often still need dedicated capability. A CBOM is not the whole inventory problem. It is one useful artifact inside it. NIST's Special Publication 1838B draft treats cryptographic discovery as a multi-surface process, not a single report export. That is the right mental model. An incomplete first-pass CBOM is a feature, not a failure. It shifts the conversation from "we need your platform" to "here is what we are actually running." The NCSC's March 2025 timeline guidance puts identifying your key services and applications and forming a record of the data you hold in Phase 1. Deliverable by 2028. That is the anchor date for inventory. Everything else in the NCSC plan waits on that step. If a vendor deck's dates for migration are aggressive, but your Phase 1 inventory is still empty, those dates are marketing, not a plan. Remedy 2. Crypto agility before algorithm choice. NIST defines crypto agility as the capability to replace and adapt cryptographic algorithms across protocols, applications, software, hardware, and infrastructure without interrupting the flow of a running system. Crypto agility is not a product. It is a set of invariants you enforce. Algorithms negotiated via protocol, not compiled in. Key material rotated without service redesign. Hybrid modes supported natively. Bruce Schneier, writing on Google's internal target to move to PQC by 2029, said the reason is not that a useful quantum computer must arrive by then. It is that crypto agility is always a good thing. Google's and Cloudflare's 2029 dates are not vendor fear selling. They are rational earlier targets from operators who have done the agility work first. Earlier is defensible when the homework is done. Before evaluating any migration product, ask the question in reverse. If NIST deprecates algorithm X tomorrow, how long until your stack can swap? If the answer is 18 months and a re-architecture, algorithm selection is not your top problem. If the answer is a configuration push and a reboot, you are ready to pick the right algorithm. That is the agility test. It is more useful than any product comparison. Remedy 3. Government timeline literacy. 3 documents replace the vendor urgency chart. NIST IR 8547, still in draft. The NSA's CNSA 2.0 advisory, scoped to national security systems. and the UKNCSC's migration timelines, published in March 2025. All three are free. None require a call with an account executive. What do those three documents actually say? NIST IR 8547 proposes deprecating 112-bit public key parameter sets after 2030 and disallowing classical RSA and elliptic curve schemes after 2035. CNSA 2.0 phases national security systems to quantum resistance by 2035, with a 2033 milestone for web browsers, web servers, and cloud services running as NSS. The NCSC asks for inventory by 2028, high priority migration by 2031, and completion by 2035. The dates overlap. The scope does not. Read the scope before quoting the date. Section 3. The counterargument. It is worth stating directly because dismissing it is how vendors keep getting away with the pattern in the first place. The argument goes like this. Fear works. Urgency moves budget. Urgency gets CISO attention. Without it, PQC migration does not happen at all. That is true, and it is worth engaging with, honestly, not waving away. The question is not whether urgency is useful. The question is what action the urgency is aimed at. Urgency aimed at the right. First action is fine. Urgency aimed at the wrong one is harmful. A CISO who spends 2026 budget on a migration platform before completing inventory consumes a budget line that will not return. 2 years later, the tool sits unused over a stack nobody inventoried. Deadlines are closer. The organization is behind where it started with less money. The correction is not less urgency. It is urgency aimed correctly. Section 4. What to do this week. 3 concrete actions. None of them require buying a migration platform first. Each one mirrors a discovery surface, the joint CISA, NSA, and NIST fact sheet already names. You can start before lunch. Action 1. Pick one service you own end-to-end. Map the 3 discovery surfaces the fact sheet names, network protocols, end-user systems and servers, including applications and associated libraries. Cryptographic code in your CI/CD pipeline. A CBOM in CycloneDX. 1.6 is the right artifact. A deliberately incomplete first pass is the correct starting point. You do not need permission to begin. Action 2. Write your organization's agility story on one page. Which algorithms are hard-coded? Which are negotiated via protocol? How long a swap takes today? And the single worst dependency you would have to refactor first. That one page is what a real readiness assessment looks like. It is also a much better artifact to hand to any vendor than a procurement form. Action 3. Read IR 8547 as a draft, the latest CNSA 2.0 advisory, and the NCSC's migration timelines side by side. Compare those 3 documents to the dates in the last vendor slide you saw. Track scope, not just year. The 3 guidance documents are free. The vendor deck's date often is not. One closing line. If the vendor deck's dates are more aggressive than the public guidance, and those dates are not tied to your own data lifetime, your own exposure, or your own regulatory context, that is not insight. That is the sales motion. Once you see it that way, it is hard to unsee. I hope this was useful. Hit like and subscribe for more on post-quantum cryptography and zero-knowledge proofs.